thank you everybody for being here. I'm very pleased with our turnout. We couldn't have had this event without all of you guys. And a special thank you to our sponsors. Again, we couldn't have this event without you, so thank you very much. We'll go ahead and get started. So now we have Moxy Anne's going to be singing the National Anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I'd like to pass it over to Johnnie Morgan, President of California Republican Assembly. Let him say some words.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Judy. It is so good to see all of you here and without mask. This is tremendous. As Jenny mentioned, my name is Johnnie Morgan. I'm president of the California Republican Assembly. And as was mentioned, the California Republican Assembly, or CRA, is the oldest and largest independent Republican organization in California. Ronald Reagan called us the conscience of the Republican Party. And we worked very hard to maintain that position. As Jenny mentioned, it can only be done if all of you participate. Everyone in this room has a stake in California. You know, I was watching the news the other day, and maybe some of you saw this broadcast too. They were interviewing owners of moving companies. And they were all in a frenzy. They interviewed about 3 or 4 of them. We don't have enough trucks. All our trucks are gone. People keep calling. We can't help them. The people leave, and they don't bring the trucks back. They don't send the trucks back. Okay, and this is U-Haul as well as transportation companies, with their vans. And so I saw that, and I'm like, okay, we know why they're leaving, okay, but where are they going? That was my question. Where are they going? Then I find out they're going to Arizona, they're going to Texas, they're going to Florida, they're going to South Carolina, they're even going to Missouri. Oh, okay, Idaho. All right. Okay, now, you people who know where they're going, that tells me that you're thinking about going too. No? Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that because, I thought about leaving, okay? And then I thought again, I said, oh, no. I'm not leaving. I was born here, and I love California.
Yes, sir.
And the only way we are going to keep it and make it better is to stay here and fight for it. And that's where you come in, okay? Yes, I'm the president, but, I can't do it alone. These are board members. They can't do it alone. But all of you can do something. And if all of us do something, right, Michelle? We can make good things happen. There was a time when California was red. Anybody remember that? Oh, okay, good. Yeah. You say you liked it then, huh? Yeah, well, so did I and everyone else. And that's why there was always such an influx of people trying to get in here. I would see license plate frames say, welcome to California. Now go home. Because there were so many people coming. But now there's so many people leaving, we are, moving into a very devastating state. So, what is the CRA doing? Well, the CRA has plans. And as was mentioned, we have local Republican assemblies all throughout the state. In fact, right now, we have 36 throughout the state of California. So if there is not one near you, which there probably is, but if there isn't, because there's some places that we still have not established local assemblies, you need to join, as Jenny said, at large. Join at large, and then call me or call Jenny and tell us that you would like to have a Republican assembly in your community. And then you can put forth the same kind of fight that Jenny's putting forth here in Costa Mesa to make things right on a local level, because it all begins on the local level, right? Yeah. That's where it all begins. So we have to work from the ground up. So help us do that. And, I know people say, well, I'm only one person. I can't do all of that. Again, the CRA has a goal of turning California red again. Now, we have a plan, okay? It's in motion. But, we need you to help make it work. So that's why we encourage you to join. If there's not a local Republican assembly in your area, you can join as an at-large member. Again, let us know you want one. And we will work to make sure you get one. There are all sorts of ways that you can assist and support the California Republican Assembly, even if you just make donations. I mean, that's appreciated as well, okay? Because money, what do they say, is the mother's milk? How's that go? Anybody remember that one? Yes, that's what makes politics work. So if you decide that you want to become a member today, any of these board members here, and myself included, can help you do that today. Jenny?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. I am going to introduce our next guest speaker, Christina Shea. Christina Shea is the president of the newly chartered Irvine Republican Assembly. Hi, come on up. She's served as a councilwoman and as a directly appointed mayor for the city of Irvine. She has lots of spectacular experience, so we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much.
Well, being short, I have to bend these down. And let me just say, Johnnie, I am a Californian from birth, and I am not moving because my grandkids live here, I have a home here, and I love my state, and I'm not going to vacate it. I'm going to fight for it. But I also want to thank Jenny. Jenny reached out to me a couple months ago. She's just a stalwart. She reached out to me and said, Christina, I lost my election for mayor this past November. And yes, we do miss me, and I appreciate that. I miss myself. But yeah, so I lost the election, and it was difficult because I had some Republican elected officials that actually were endorsed, Republican endorsed candidates that ended up endorsing the Democrat and working with that individual. 3 weeks prior to my election, it was really troubling. And so I want to thank Jenny for reaching out to me and saying, Christina, I want you to create a new group in Irvine, a CRA group. And I really hesitated. You know, sometimes when you go through a loss, you need to really think about it and reflect on it and take some time. But I thought, you know, our city, at least I got about 44,000 votes. So there's 44,000 people in Irvine that actually like me, which was very appreciated. And so she talked me into it. She has just done a great job. Look what a wonderful turnout we have today. And I really have to hand it to her. And I hope your boss doesn't know the fact that you're not working as much at the office as you are working here, but you're doing the right thing. So we don't want to share that really. But let me at least, I do want to introduce my key staff, my board members. We were chartered, I think it was like, we were chartered like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, right, Johnnie? And it's really nice to see you. Let me shake your hand. And so we've been on Zoom, but I haven't had a chance to meet you personally. So I just want to recognize Richard Denzer. He's my vice president. He's the one that did the outburst with the Pledge of Allegiance and said, great job, right? And keep that up. And then Mark Nugent, he's our communication director right here in the back. Mark has been fantastic, and he's going to work with us and make sure that we get our webpage going, and we're just really getting started, but we've got a lot of great ideas. And then also, let me just mention Deb Krastel. She's here. She's our membership chair. And then also Monica Alston. I couldn't do it without you. So having a great team really matters. So let me just say that why did I agree to do this? Well, as I mentioned, it's an issue of accountability. As Republicans, we have to get back to a point that Republicans can't be light Democrats. They can't go to the left because that's where the votes are. That's where our demographics in Irvine. In 2016, I won basically by a landslide. That's when Trump won. And then 4 years later, I was defeated in a large number. I was shocked. I really thought, this is really sad that many people don't like me. But I was a good mayor, and I tried really hard, but it really was, in our perspective in Irvine, UCI. They have really galvanized the students at UCI, and we have professors and UCI students that have gone, they're just been really pushing this whole envelope of getting registrations and getting out there. And of course, they leave in the summer, they're gone. We even found, and I believe that, Fred, we had discussed this, we found like 1,000 of the ballots were not even accurate, right? And they threw them out. But I was worried that the absentee ballots were going to be coming in, and they were off campus because of COVID, and that they were going to be able to sign all those people up. We just didn't have the money to investigate this. But that is a huge problem for the city of Irvine. And so at this point, I really believe that we are going to move in a direction, and I'm working with Jenny, to try to bring forward as many cities to join the CRA as we can, to really bring everyone together in a positive way to start fighting what we need to fight in 2022. And there's a lot of people who are frustrated and concerned about, and kind of, you know, they're just like frustrated. Well, what's going to happen? You know, they've kind of given up. We don't want them to give up. And leadership requires us to make sure that we lead, and we make sure we encourage our residents and our community to know, don't give up. We can come back. We've done it in the past, and we're going to do it now. And so I've committed my time and energy, besides working and finally making some money selling real estate, and it's going really well. When you're the mayor, you make $1,500 a month and work 50 hours a week, so let's get real, right? So it's been actually a blessing for me to be off the council, because now I can really earn a living and also spend my time supporting Republican issues that need to be supported. And so I'll be out there, I'll be working with Jenny side by side, trying to really, and even with Johnnie, right? We're going to just make sure that the entire state of California is really energized for the coming election. So let me just say, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate all of your support in the past and in the future. And let's work together. Let's hold our electeds accountable. When we endorse elected officials and they turn and they work with the Democrats, they need to be held accountable. Yes. We're not doing it, and it needs to be done. Thank you so very much, and I love all of you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yes, thank you very much, sorry. So we all know how important our Second Amendment rights are and how our Second Amendment protects all the rest of our freedoms, and how we need to preserve them, especially here in California. So our next speaker is Trent Butler, and Trent is the volunteer executive director of the OC Gun Owners PAC. And he's got some good information for us.
But I feel like that's going to fall. So I was told I had to stay to 3 minutes, so I actually, bear with me as I actually use notes for once. It's great to see so many people here who are passionate about, retaining control of this country. Passionate patriots that are here defending our Constitution and defending our republic. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all, and I, appreciate a couple moments of your time to talk about the importance of the Second Amendment and the state of affairs here in California with it. I think we all know it's not great. Would be about the nicest way we could put it. Many of you have spent your lives in California, and you know how truly oppressive this state is when it comes to gun laws. How many gun owners do we have in here? Awesome. So I've been an instructor and the director. I've been an instructor for about 10 years on firearms, working with police departments and different agencies, and then private citizens on CCWs, all the different aspects of firearm ownership. And I've been the director of Orange County Gun Owners for 3 years, I think. We've been around for about 4.5. This state never fails to surprise me. Every time I think that they have gone after everything they're going to go after, it's like, oh, cool, another state bill on something that never even had occurred to us before they decided to ban it. From increasing and expanding background check fees and expanding background checks to ammunition now, not just firearms, but purchasing ammunition. Systemic restrictions on the types of shotguns, rifles, and handguns that people can buy. Most recently, National Shooting Sports Federation published a list of the 10 firearms that females are purchasing, 10 handguns that females are purchasing. Of that list of 10, 3 of them are allowed in California. So that right there, you want to talk about oppressing people and minimizing the options that people have to exercise the right of self-defense, which is one of the most important inherent rights that we have that the government's not supposed to be infringing upon. That's huge, and it's indicative of how far the state has really gone. Political pressure exerted on gun shows and gun stores, so there's continual state bills requiring federal firearms licensees, so gun stores here in California, on how they need to store things, how they need to maintain audio and visual recording that they didn't have to do before, and some of these small mom and pop shops can't afford, the data storage, the cameras, the infrastructure to be able to maintain that kind of surveillance. And the reason they require that is because 2 gun stores got broken into during riots back in 2018 across the entire state. So because, once again, because of the actions of criminals, everybody else gets victimized, and everybody else gets fees and restrictions and everything else. The process and speed of anti-gun legislation in this state has increased incredibly. We just did a seminar a couple months ago that showed back in the 90s there was about 1 anti-gun pill passed about every year or so. Now we're getting about 3 to 4 every year that goes after every single aspect of firearm ownership. It's pretty apparent that the state government will not stop until they have either taxed or infringed or restricted every aspect of the Second Amendment here in this state. And unfortunately, to make matters worse, like that's not enough of a downer, to make matters worse, the federal government has made it very clear in the past few months that they're going to use California as the model for everything they're going to start proposing at the federal level. So from House Bill 1, House Bill 127, and then President Biden's executive orders, it's very clear that they're going to use the same failed policies in California at the federal level, or they're at least going to try. And when I call these policies failed, just a little anecdote on this. We get a lot of females that come in and take classes from us, a lot of women that have dealt with potentially an abusive situation or dealt with just being scared. 23-year-old single moms that have trouble being able to go out there and purchase a firearm, and then the additional $100+ in fees they have to pay just to buy the gun and buy the ammunition that goes with it. Waiting periods. Who in here agrees with waiting periods? Yeah, I figured that'd be an easy question. You'd be surprised. Waiting periods in California, you have to wait 10 days after you purchase a firearm to pick it up and actually take possession of it. We've had situations where females have reached out to us, either my training company or organization, to purchase a gun, learn the process. They go out, they buy a gun, and about 3 days into the process of buying a gun, they get victimized by either the former spouse or soon-to-be former spouse or a stalker, an ex-boyfriend, who knows what it is. And that's a problem. So when I call these policies failed, those are the kinds of instances I'm talking about. Because there's a lot of people not like us, and people not anti-gun either, but people in the middle, that are convinced that these common sense policies are really common sense, that these are things that everybody can come to the table and agree upon. Because they sound good on paper, right? Especially for all of us that already have a bunch of guns, right? 10 days to get another one? Okay, no big deal. What about the people who buy their first one? What about the people who need that first one? And we're seeing over this last year so many tens and hundreds of millions of people across this country buying guns for the first time. Not hundreds, excuse me, tens of millions of people. In California, the numbers are somewhere around 10 million people were buying their first firearm this last year. Now that's a plus. That's a plus, but it's also a call to action for us. So every single one of you guys that raised your hand, that said you own a firearm, talk to people about it. Too many times over the years, I've had people come to classes, or I've gone and done classes, firearms training courses for corporations, and I'm in front of a board of 7 people that have all worked together for 10 years, and that's the day they all discover that each of the other ones owns guns. They didn't know before that. Why? Because we've allowed ourselves to be oppressed. Right? There's a stigma to it. I heard it. Right? That's exactly the word I use. Because gun owners are demonized because of the actions of psychopaths. And our rights are restricted because of the actions of psychopaths. There's tens of millions of AR-15s in private hands. And yet, weirdly, those people aren't the problem. Right? And so when these mass shootings and mass casualty events happen, there's a cry. Right? There's a cry that we need to do something. And I agree, we do need to do something. But having all kinds of gun-owning Americans wake up the next day as felons because the government has decided they don't like the gun you own, that's not the solution. And that's what California's tried quite a few times. So how do we fight this? And more importantly, how do we win? Right? The first step is recognizing that we can win. Over the past few years, we've seen a lot of very pro-Second Amendment decisions happen, even in California. We've seen laws be struck down. We've seen Ninth Circuit decisions on these court cases come back and restore some of these rights, even if it's temporarily until the state decides to appeal it again. Right? I'm not convinced Xavier Becerra ever actually sleeps, because those appeals get filed real fast. Right? Even though these victories have been sparse, every single one matters, and every single one should revitalize us to continue the fight. The second step is recognizing the scale of the battle we have ahead of us. There are people at the national level, people at the state level, people at the local level that are dedicated to infringing our gun rights. I have seen events that have nothing to do with firearms be used by people on the other side as soapboxes for the epidemic of gun violence that's gripping our country. There's not an epidemic. The numbers are about the same as they have always been. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but they are about the same as they've always been. The difference is there's an opportunity to exploit those numbers, and the media does that, and the other side does that, nonstop. So we have to be willing to fight it nonstop. There are different organizations, different levels that work, and on the different aspects of this battle. Firearm Policy Coalition works on the legislative battles. They work on funding legal fights constantly across this country. The National Rifle Association, phenomenal organization. They're dealing with some internal stuff. It's kind of taken their focus off of the national level. So the rest of us have to be ready to take up the slack. For us, we are dedicated to vetting and endorsing politicians at the local level, because we are taking the long view. If we're going to change this state, much like all these, like you said, Mr. Morgan, sorry, I forgot your name for a second, I checked your tag. It starts at the grassroots level. And when it comes to politics, local politicians are not going to stay local forever. We want to pick people and back people who are going to aggressively defend, which is the PC way of saying go on the offense, who are going to aggressively defend our Second Amendment rights. We don't want people, we're not going to endorse people who are going to say, yeah, we're just going to make sure there's not more gun control. We want people who are going to tell us their plan to fight back and to get this stuff removed in California because it's integral to everything else. We've seen over the last year our most sacred rights be infringed. Our right to free speech, our right to just even communicate with people without something in the way. My organization doesn't say anything about masks, but it's pretty clear-cut. Our right to assemble has been restricted. Our right to exercise our faith has been restricted. And especially in this state, our right to exercise our Second Amendment rights has been restricted. So it's time to fight back. We also serve as a resource to gun owners, dispersing information on California gun laws and how to get your permit. I'm not going to have everybody raise their hands on whether or not you have a CCW, but who knows you can get a CCW in Orange County? Okay? The Sheriff's Department approves about 96% of applications. But every week since I started training CCW courses here back in 2014, I will have someone tell me, you can't get a CCW in Orange County. I'm like, well, that's odd. So we've been issuing a bunch of them. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. So that's a big part of our organization is going out there and making sure everybody's operating from correct information. So we look forward to working closely with each and every one of you. Every single one of us has a crucial role in this fight. Every single one of us has ideas, perspectives, networks, personal relationships that the rest of us don't. And it takes all of us. It takes every single one of us. We know how absolutely crucial the Second Amendment right is to securing all the rest of them. Right? So we can't allow the right of self-defense to become solely the providence of the state. We can't allow guns to become solely the providence of the state because we've seen what happens when that happens. So, much like Mr. Morgan said, this is a fight we can win, this is a fight we will win, but we can't do it alone. We cannot do it alone. Every single one of you guys, even if you can't become a member, if you know politicians that are up for re-election, politicians who we need to take a look at, or candidates we need to take a look at, come talk to us. Our door is always open, and we rely on every single one of you guys. So, thank you for your time. Now is our chance, and God bless America.
Next up, we have the chairman of the Republican Party of Orange County. He's a longtime Republican Party volunteer, and he was elected twice to the Orange City Council, Fred Whitaker.
Thank you very much to the Costa Mesa Republican Assembly for hosting this event. Thanks to each of you for spending some of your Sunday to be here and be involved. You know, volunteers are what make up the Republican Party. Yes, we need donors because money gets messaging, but it's the volunteers that actually are able to convey that messaging out. You know, in 2020, we won back 2 of the congressional seats that were lost in 2018. You know how we did that? We did that with great candidates like Michelle Steele, but we did it with volunteers. We trained over 2,000 people in Orange County on Campaign Sidekick, which is an app that takes all of our data and allows you to automatically call people from your computer, from your home. The pandemic didn't stop us. We then used Campaign Sidekick to then go out and put people into the precincts in the summer when the other side decided they were still too scared to actually go out and talk to people. That's how we won elections. That's how we're going to win even more elections in 2022. You know, Johnnie talked about all the moving vans on the way out of California. That's going to cost California 1 to 2 congressional seats in the year 2022. That, mostly Democrat, it actually will, because the actual exodus is coming from the urban core. That's going to move the seats more into Orange County. That's going to consolidate Republican voters into our seats. We're going to have a great time re-electing Michelle. We're also going to be able to get back Congressional 45. I guarantee you that. But what you may not know is that we had, from the state party and from our own data sources, over 6,000 people who wanted to be volunteers. But when somebody who's kind of nameless and faceless from the state party or the Orange County Republican Party staff, or even a campaign staff calls them and says, do you want to be involved? Then all of a sudden that little email that they gave out on a website or on a social media site, they don't respond. We need to take that 2,000 that did respond that we trained last time and turn it into the 6,000. We have a very dynamic precinct plan. Kelly Ernby's our chairwoman of that. It's going great. We had our first training on Saturday. But it's taking that 2,000 and making that 6,000 people. And that only happens when people connect with other people. That's why groups like the Costa Mesa Republican Assembly and all of our local Republican clubs, that neighbor-to-neighbor contact is more likely to get somebody to actually volunteer and be involved where they are at locally. And yes, city councils provide the bench for others, but they actually also undergird the entire precinct operation for everything we're doing that's going to get Michelle reelected to Congress, that's going to take the 45th back, that's going to help Diane Dixon win the 74th. You name it, everything we do has to have local people. And so your club here, or if you don't have a club, please get involved in a club, because there's only so much that centralization can do. I mean, as a party, we don't believe in centralization, right? We believe in a decentralized government. We believe in a federalized system. It's the same in politics. People work better when they work with their neighbors. Thank you for being here. Please get plugged into our system, because with your help, we will win in 2022. Thank you, Ambassador, for coming back to Orange County. It's great to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fred. It's so important that we all get involved. So happy you guys are all here. Get a little groundswell going, and fight the good fight coming up. Our next speaker is our lone conservative voice here in Costa Mesa, Mr. Don Harper. He served on the Parks and Rec Commission here in Costa Mesa, and he's been a part of the community coaching sports, and he's a business owner. So we're super happy to have him today, and he needs some help on the board.
Thank you very much. It has been a lonely start at City Council. It's my first time at City Council. My friends, my family, my dog told me not to run. I still ran. I ran against an incumbent. And to, I think Fred's point, the local attributes of a community where I've been in 20, 30 years, coaching sports, doing things, people were looking for a good candidate. They were looking for somebody to vote for. So I ran against, spent 1/5 the money, just I think a whisper campaign got me elected. And so there's still out there people that want to see a change. There's still out there that people that think the way we do. And I swear they'd show up with their pitchforks if they knew what the fight was about, but a lot of people don't. So I'm on a council with 6 other socialists, liberals, progressives, all a mix.
We love you.
Thank you. You know, I go there and it's like they feel this way about me. Like that time I bought my wife a vacuum cleaner for Christmas. That's how I feel. It was a Dyson, by the way. It wasn't that bad. It had attachments, but it wasn't that bad. I'm still defending it. I can win the argument with them. I can win the argument. I can win individually. I can convince them of an issue. But on the dais, I lose. And I lose because of labor unions, largely. I lose because they've been supported by somebody else, or they're supporting their fellow councilman on a policy they don't always agree with. But they'll vote that way. And it's frankly gut-wrenching. But I know there's good people. I get a lot of thank yous from neighbors and friends for doing it, and I do it again. So the thing that CMRA needs to help me out with, and all of you need to help with, and in your local communities, is a plan to take back those seats. Because ultimately, that's the bottom line. I don't get anything done. I show up, I do my best, but I don't get anything done. So in my mind, the best thing to do is to have CMRA start to build a communication network and build membership. You know, our forefathers said, give me liberty or give me death. Give me liberty in just an hour on a Saturday. That's all we're asking for, and that's all of you are asking for, to get more people involved. So build out that communication network, whether it's emails, social media, flyers. You know, I never mailed one flyer. I hand-delivered information to get votes. I just didn't send one mailer. My opponent, I think, sent 6. Second thing is, have a message and build that message. Within council, just so far in 5 months, the things that council's voted for are things that I think most voters would be appalled at. From voting to put retail cannabis in our city, to giving grocery workers and pharmacy workers $4 more an hour, and they were all union favors. And if the public knew, they'd get behind what CMRA has to offer in that message. The third thing is we need to go out and find good candidates, not just who raises their hand, but who are good quality community members. They may be family, business-oriented, sports-oriented, just community-oriented, and they may not think they want to run, but we need to convince them they want to run, and we need to then get behind them and help them. You know, it's a very lonely thing when you run for city council. There's not a network that helps you. There's not somebody to do a website, flyers. You put it all together. So at least in our local area, I'm willing to help get that built for any candidate that wants to do it, that's willing to do it. And we can support those people and make it a friendlier, warmer thing where you spend a lot of time just getting those basics done before you can ever go out and campaign. So we need to do that, and we need to get them elected. And the last thing I'll say, we need to, you all know this, we all need to consolidate and pick one candidate per district. We had multiple Republicans running for mayor. We had multiple Republicans running in 3 of our districts, and we lost in all those events. So we need to fix that. So give me liberty and give me an hour, and let's get to work. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Don. Our next speaker is fresh off a win, a historic win, unseating the Democrat incumbent for the first time since 1994. She served on the OC Board of Supervisors. She is a staunch conservative, has talked about getting rid of the mask mandate and getting our schools open. I think we all want that. She voted against the second impeachment of President Trump, against the Equality Act, and against the American Rescue Act plan, I think. Michelle Steele, our local jewel, thank you.
Thank you very much. You know what, it's so different that I'm coming to my district and I'm looking at all of familiar faces here, so thank you. And this is really great in-person meetings because usually I do Zoom meetings like 9, 10 a day, and end of the day, I don't even remember what I said and who I met. So you know what, it's not really good. But you know, for CRA, that, you know, I've been involved with CRA, how long? It's been a long time. Actually, we have legend. Legend doesn't mean she's old, but you know what? She's sitting here that she built the CRA together. Celeste Craig, can you just wave your hands? She's my big sister. And thank you. Without your help, there's just no way I'm here and fighting. You know what? Don was talking about that he's been losing all these, you know, agenda issues at the city because there's a 6-1. In Congress, we just need 2 more seats. We always lose. So there's, let me just go back. My husband's sitting here for 39 years who's been supporting me no matter what I do crazy things running for Congress. And you know what? He's a saint. He's been sitting here someplace in the back. And I have 2 daughters, and you know, I became a grandmother. And my first one had a son 2 years ago. I couldn't even see him much because I was campaigning, and it was just crazy things. And last year, September, her husband actually deployed, Navy psychiatrist. So he's coming back next month. When he left, baby couldn't crawl, couldn't say a word. Now he says, Daddy, Mommy, and everything. So I think he's gonna be so surprised when he comes back next month. I am so proud of my 2 daughters that, you know what, with conservative value that we teach, our kids grew up so nicely and they have their families and they are actually doing great things and they built their family very strong. And you know what? That's all coming from the conservative ideas. So I am just so grateful for that. there's a couple of things that, I was very surprised when I got to Washington, D.C. First thing is, actually, you cannot guess, it's a schedule. So I'm on two committees, transportation and infrastructure, and then second one is education and labor. I want to promote charter schools, and I want to promote school choices. That's the reason. That's the reason I chose education and labor. And Kevin McCarthy called, and Kevin said, Michelle, there's so many tough votes. Do you think you can handle it? And I said, I can handle anything. When you could handle against Democrats, you know what? I think I can handle it. And he gave me whatever I wanted. I am just so grateful too that, our leadership. Second thing, the most surprise is that, it's much more partisan than you hear from the media. No matter what, when you talk to one, they all agree that they want to do something for their constituents. But when they go to the committee or on the floor, they never vote with you. So we always 2-3 votes short. And Republican side, that what we are saying is, leadership's been telling you that, if you don't vote with us, just let us know. Just don't surprise us. Democrats last year, 3 members actually voted with Republicans regarding pro-life. All 3 voted out during the primary. So they are using scary tactics. So they have to vote together. That's very, very scary. But you know what? Since you can talk to Democrats 1-to-1, and you can do bipartisan bills together. So there's 3 things. Actually, I have more. If I have long time, I can just recite everything I've been doing. But first one is actually we are helping businesses when they're modernize their ventilator system, then they can get tax credit up to $15,000. And Democrat, Congresswoman Bordeaux and I actually introduced the bill together. Second bill is that stop hate crime against AAPI. Actually, most progressive, Katie Porter, 45th District, she and I actually introduced the bill together, so that's in Judiciary Committee. I know I don't want to work with her, but I need her to pass this. That's the reason. And then, sorry about that. And third one, we have to work. Third one is we try to repeal the SALT, state and local taxes. Our President Trump did a great job. Do you remember? Yes. Simplified the tax code, gave more credit to married people, and corporate tax that he reduced from 28 to 21%. But tried to hurt blue states like California. Guess what he did? We have a cap up to $10,000 for income tax deduction. So you know what? We are working with Democrats, and we're going to repeal that. And actually, Nancy Pelosi was thinking about giving us the, positive direction. So I think it might going to work it out. So it's really good. And actually, I am working with U.S. senators. It's really fun to do things together. It's bicameral bills and some like introducing or send the letters together. So when I was doing a campaigning, then my opponent was accusing me that I was working for China because I'm the first generations with the accent. I don't even speak Chinese. I speak Korean and Japanese as my first and second, but I was accused that working for China. So Kevin McCarthy actually appointed me to Congressional Executive Committee on China. So we're gonna study and how we're gonna work that go after them about the human rights violations. And then they're abusing minority Uyghur community, and actually they are taking these children away from their parents from Uyghur community and put them in the orphanage without their parents' consent. So this is getting really crazy, so we're gonna do that. So I sent a letter out on the same time with Senator Ted Cruz to International Olympic Committee to ask that we have to change our city, the Olympic location, from Beijing to another safe city. We cannot really, boycott Olympics because all these athletes been practicing for the last 4 years. You cannot ask them to give up their hard work, but we can protect their safety and they can have a fair competition. So we send the letters out. And then you remember AB 5, that we lost all these freelancer jobs. Federal government just passed the PRO Act. It's actually much worse than AB 5. So when you have a couple more Democrats, I know we're gonna take it back, but you know what? They vote exactly what Democrats thinking about to do, that how they're gonna change our lives. So we are working on with two senators, Marsha Blackburn and Tim Scott. And on the Congressional side, Alice Stefanik, you all know how dynamic she is, and me, 4 of us together, actually we are putting the language that what is employees and what is employment. So we are actually try to protect these employees from that PRO Act. So that's what we are working on it. So last year campaign was the toughest one. We need your help more than ever. I raised $5.7 million, and my opponent raised $5 million. And Republican side, actually, they put $3 million on the top of what I raised. Democrat Nancy Pelosi put $14 million against me. You know what? It was 2.5 times to 1. It was a very tough fight. But guess what we did? We knocked the door more than 110,000 households. And you know what? My husband started that. And the first time all these volunteers went out, guess what? We are not letting them wear our T-shirts because people might gonna complain because it was during the COVID. So the first week we went out, nobody complained. Out of 110,000 houses, not even one complaint. They love to talk to you because since our governor locked us down, good people down, but he let prisoners, 18,000 prisoners on the streets. So bad people were outside and we good people were inside. So when we were knocking the door, came from Michelle Steele's campaign, they love to talk. I mean, it was just amazing. And second thing is we stick to the issues, not attacking me. My opponent actually attacked that my husband is, I have a shady husband. I mean, I never heard that. So, and then they were going after actually my daughter too. Whatever I jokingly said too, I mean, they just went out so badly. Some of the Democrat women, when I visited, they said, you know what? I think your opponent is going the way too far, so this year I'm gonna vote for you. That's the way it was. But when you stick to the issues and you knock the door and meet one by one, then you're gonna win. And that's exactly what we have to do because we incumbents have to stick, and then we need only for 2 more seats in Congress, then Kevin McCarthy is gonna be our speaker next year. So I need your help. Money is important, but money is not that important. I need somebody who volunteer and walk with us together, and we're gonna take these seats back. It's so important. And we have Governor Newsom. You know what? You already talked about it. We opened the businesses last May with safety guidelines. He shut down only Orange County beaches. You remember that? And you know what? He visited actually LA and San Diego, but he skipped Orange County. He hates Orange County. We have to get rid of him because you know what? When you cannot work together, somebody who enjoyed his dictatorship, somebody who didn't take government class during the high school, so he didn't know we have 3 branches in the government, then we have a problem. So we have to get rid of him. And you know what? I am so happy Ambassador is here. He's going to give us the plan that what he wants to do, what he's going to do. Hopefully that we're going to hear good news from him today. And I am so happy in-person meeting like this. We should do it more. Sean and I went through COVID, and we got vaccinations done. You know what? Anybody can hug me. You're not gonna get COVID from me. So you know what? I'm here to give you all the hugs, and thank you very much for inviting me today.